Hi Joe from Ingenious Probiotics.
Hello, Louise.
Lovely to have you here.
Yeah.
So do you want to start? What do you do for Ingenious Probiotics?
Everything. Wash the cups, everything. I'm the managing director.
Right.
So you could call that looking forward to what's happening and what we should be doing and so on and so forth. But also the sales. So my job is to speak to wonderful people like yourself.
And we've had a lot of chats, haven't we?
We've had a lot of chats. Explain where probiotics fit in, how probiotics work, but also as well, it's important for me to keep up to date with what's happening health-wise, so that when we're giving advice about why somebody should use our product instead of another product, then we know we're giving the right advice.
And I know what's been lovely about speaking to you is you don't just say to me, Louise, this works. What you do is then send me a scientific study to go, this has proven why it's worked. And it's been quite interesting for you over coronavirus times, hasn't it? The last 2 years, what's happened to probiotics? What's been the reaction of the market?
Well, it's been very interesting, and you're absolutely right. We don't just say it works. In most cases, you've got to stop me by saying, okay, Joe, we have enough information about how this goes. But I feel it is important when you're introducing something that's a little bit counterintuitive, a little bit different to what people have been used to say, look, this is backed up with lots of information. Stop me when you've heard enough, okay? So with coronavirus, it's been a very interesting thing for the whole industry.
Yeah.
And we have our opinions, very strong opinions. And I must preface that by saying, before we got into probiotics, we had 15 years of providing air purification for health and wellness in the built environment. In other words, keeping the air clean that we breathe. And we breathe 15 kilograms of air a day, or somebody my size, those are the amount of cake I eat, about 15 kilograms of air every day. So it's quite a lot more than you eat. So you bring that into your body, you're filtering it through your lungs. So we got involved with probiotics from a point of view of putting them into the airstream of the air systems, say ventilation systems and so on. And then we looked at the rest of the range and said, look, with the what we do with air purification, we're trying to get rid of chemicals. Let's get to the base of this problem, because the chemicals from the cleaning products are a major contributor to what we're trying to fix, basically health and wellness of the built environment. So with the I get your question. So with Corona, what's happened is that there's been an increase in use of chemicals.
Yep, loads.
It's absolutely crazy. So we've had to take a step back, because people have been, maybe panicking is too strong of a word, but it was a new situation for everybody. And people were looking for strong chemicals. Here's me holding a chemical in my hand. So people were looking for strong chemicals rather than something new. They were dropped back. So before Corona, we were told, look, we were told by people in the industry, we know that chemicals are bad for us. We know we can't sustain this. We know we can't keep doing this. Oh, look, Corona's come, give me some chemicals.
And it has been quite interesting, because you're right, beforehand, we were really moving away from heavy chemical usage. And one of the things that you were saying is actually the effects, I've read some of your studies on the effects that chemicals are having on cleaners, and there's been a high proportion of lung cancer, hasn't there? And
yeah. So for cleaners, they're at the front line in more ways than one. And we have a study on our website showing that cleaners with a 10-year experience were 58% more likely to have lung cancer.
Which for me, with 12 years, is terrifying.
And that the lung cancer was just what they happened to study. Now, Lucy contacted me because we are gaining a bit of a reputation when it comes to pet friendly.
Right.
And we're finding that a lot of people that are contacting us that are homeowners with pets who have allergies, pets who have, and this might sound funny, but this is a really big problem. Atopic dermatitis in dogs is a major issue.
It is.
Major issue. So people are looking to get rid of their chemicals. And then they talk to us and they say, why should I get rid of my chemicals? How's it going to help my dog? And we say, well, first of all, let's just not expose him to chemicals. He's a four-legged canary in a coal mine. He's getting that response before you get that response. And what are you cleaning your floor with? What's happening?
We've seen on the news the Flora Fabulosa, the dogs are dying from walking on these chemicals, aren't they?
And this is a really important thing. The first word you mentioned there was something that sounds eco, sounds environmentally friendly. So ours doesn't. Ours does what it says in the tin. Okay. But it's what's inside the bottle. So just because something sounds, whatever marketing person, no, look behind the curtain, see what it is you're using. because the chemicals are doing a number of difficult bad things. Not only are they causing problems directly for the pet, but they also end up with a situation where you've got more of the bad bacteria. So if you get a dog with some broken skin, because you're cleaning with a anti-life chemical,
Yep.
what you actually do, and we have studies on this, I'm pleased to share them.
Oh, I have read them.
Yep. That you end up with more of something like, let's say, streptococcus. So we have tests done where during COVID, there's more streptococcus bacteria than there was before COVID, because of the extra cleaning that's going on during COVID.
Because streptococcus are very, very strong, and so actually we're killing all the other things around it, allowing that to flourish.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
show us what you have got and what this does and isn't a chemical.
Isn't a chemical. Now, we've got to say, sometimes I get pulled up on that because, water
Everything's
is
a chemical.
Yeah. So, but when we say it, most people know what you mean. It's not a harsh chemical. So it's probiotic. So it's eco as far as detergent goes, biodegradable and so on, but it's also probiotic enriched. So instead of trying to kill the microbiota, and people are understanding now that everything has a microbiome.
Yep.
You have I've got one, this has got one, my eyeball has one, the camera has one, right? Like
so
it or not.
Explain it to me as if I know nothing. What do you mean by microbiome and what is this going to do for it?
Okay, so everything's covered in gazillions of bacteria.
Yep.
We just are. And there's more bacteria on us and in us than there is human cells.
Okay.
And the bacteria have been here a lot longer than us, about over 3 billion years.
Okay.
And we evolved, so they're just natural. So if you don't like bacteria and you're trying to clean to get rid of them, you're fighting a losing battle and you need to leave the planet. It's the only way that's going to work.
And we need them in our guts. We literally need these things to survive.
You will
don't
die
we?
without them.
Okay,
you will
fine.
die without them.
So we don't want to kill them.
No, and there's some that are good for you,
Yep.
and some that are just kind of along for the ride.
Okay.
But the ones that are just kind of along for the ride, what they're doing is they're just providing a balance. So when you do get, like we mentioned, streptococcus or E. coli or salmonella, whatever, when you do get one of those, as long as there's a lot more of the other ones that are inert, not doing any good or bad, whatever, then the bad ones are held in check.
Okay, so they can't reproduce, is that what we're saying?
They've got competition for food and space and so on. So when you come along with your antimicrobial or your anti-life cleaning product and you kill 99%, and you kill all the competition, then the ones that come back have a field day.
Okay, so your
And
streptococcus is loving this now.
That's it. So this is printed. You can read about hand sanitizer and so on, and what we're saying about what you're cleaning the floor with. So again, when you're cleaning the floor in the home or in the office or whatever, especially if the dog's going to be lying on it, not only are you putting a chemical on there, which is unnecessary, you're actually increasing the pathogenic bacteria that can cause the inflammation in the skin for the dog. So stop doing it. When it comes to killing coronavirus, or that's probably not quite the right word, but getting rid of coronavirus, any soap and water does the job. You don't have to wash your hands with a particular soap or a particular anything. Any soap and water will break apart the envelope of the coronavirus. So don't feel you need to reach for something with skull and crossbones on it.
Okay, so we don't need to kill everything. So this product then, this can be sprayed everywhere, can it?
Yes. So we have a number of different products in the range.
Okay.
And you can use it anywhere. The only place we say don't use it there is if you're cleaning a commercial food preparation surface.
Okay.
Now, this is all food safe. It's actually part of the same category as food.
Oh, okay, so edible? I won't.
Yes, don't do it because, I don't know, you're going to burp a lot. So
The engine did that.
yeah, there you go. So don't drink it, but yeah, it's perfectly safe. So we use a very similar product directly onto the pet's skin when they have broken lesions from dermatitis or even open wounds. And the dog licks it, it's absolutely fine. So yes, you can eat it, but the only thing with the commercial food preparation surface is that quite often they're testing it by swabbing for evidence of bacteria. Obviously, we're putting good bacteria there, and you might get a false positive. So we say, look, leave that alone.
So it's not going to pass an ATP test?
It's fun enough we do,
Okay.
but we say, that's weird. But the ATP test is a very low-level test.
Okay.
Right? So if you're cleaning, and this is the other thing to remember when you're using anti-life chemicals, if you're cleaning with a antimicrobial and then you do an ATP test straight after, you're going to get some good results.
Okay.
Come back an hour later.
Now, was it you that told me 25 minutes is what it takes to reinfect a surface?
Yeah.
A bit more?
Well, we had somebody in the medical world say an hour.
Okay.
So in other words, if you're cleaning in a medical application the same time every day, then for 23 hours of the day, the surface is contaminated.
So what you're saying is if we clean that surface perfectly, in an hour, everything would re-land on it and we might as well have not cleaned it.
It's going to look clean, you're going to have got rid of the dirt.
Yep.
But from a contamination point of view, remember, you're breathing in at least 500,000 bacteria a day. It's all around us, especially if there's a dog or a cat in the house. It just is. So that's landing on a surface that you have killed all the competition on.
Oh, okay, so it's going to breed.
And not only that, the ones that you don't kill tend to be the stronger ones. So
Okay.
they're the ones that reproduce. They tend to be the pathogenic ones. So every time you clean, you're getting rid of the weak pathogens and leaving the strong pathogens. So it's like if you said to somebody, how do I breed bad bacteria? Well, do this. Well, that's what we do in cleaning. Yeah.
So one of the things, so I love this. I love the idea of spraying bacteria to outcompete the bad bacteria.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. One of the problems that we have in our industry, when we moved towards commercial chemicals that had less scent, we had to re-educate the customers and say they associate the smell with clean. It's going to be an interesting pitch as to now we re-educate them and say, right, we're going to spray bacteria all over your house. You are literally going to pay us to spray bacteria. How are you going to tackle that one in the industry?
Okay, so that's two questions. It's scent and bacteria, right?
Yeah.
So again, remember 15 years in air purification. When we talk about, sorry, I hit the microphone. Sorry, when we talk about air freshness, I hate doing that, but air freshness, I feel the vein stand on my neck.
It's just chemicals, isn't it?
It's chemicals. It's
Yep.
formaldehyde. It's stuff that's known to give you cancer. Don't do it.
Okay, I'll
Scented
stop.
candles, don't do it, right?
Okay.
So
Beeswax candles. I live with a beekeeper.
it's still particulates. So
Okay.
still particulates in the atmosphere, and particulates are a whole other thing with what you
So
breathe.
we'll stop burning things.
Stop burning things inside the home, right?
Okay.
Now, the scent is the other thing. The bacteria is the other thing. So hopefully that covers the scent. And I think people are getting used to the fact that, don't forget, sometimes you're spraying a scent to cover another scent.
Yeah.
And it's a bad scent you're trying to cover.
Yep.
What causes the bad scent? Bacteria.
Okay, so we
So
want
let's
to
get rid of
bacteria.
those, right? Simply by outcompeting them.
So how do you explain this to customers that we're going in and we're spraying bacteria? Because that's a really new concept for a lot of people.
Well, it is and it isn't. So if you go back and people would talk about putting Manuka honey on
Wounds.
on wounds and moss, if you go, it's very similar. It's a probiotic thing. When you talk about taking probiotics for your gut, it's a very similar thing we're doing to the surfaces, whether it's the pet surface or skin, or whether it's the kitchen floor in somebody's house. So we are covered by bacteria. Go back to what we said earlier. The planet is planet bacteria. What we're doing is saying we want to nudge this in the right direction. We want to give you a microbiome that's healthier.
Yep.
And if you try and kill the bad bacteria, the bacteria generally, by the time you're putting your equipment into the car to drive away, you're back to square one, a little bit worse than you were before you did the clean. How do you explain that to a client? Look, some clients are going to say, I want my bleach. Okay, that's not much you can do about that, except you got to let them know that's causing you personal harm
Yep.
and them personal harm. But I think there's an awareness, and it's coming from a strange place. The awareness that I'm seeing is coming from the oceans. So
Yep.
David Attenborough et al. And they're saying, look, this is the pollution that's going into our waterways. Where is it coming from? Well, it's coming from things like colloidal silver, antiseptics, as well as antidepressants and so on. But the rivers are awash with antibiotics
Yep.
and chemicals, and that's feeding into the rivers. So stop doing it. When you've half finished the floor and the water is filthy and you want to put it down the sink, if you've been using probiotics, not only are you not putting chemicals into the wastewater system, which is already struggling, but you're putting a probiotic in there, which is still going to be doing some of its probiotic thing, breaking apart biofilms, eating organic waste. We haven't even talked about that yet.
Okay,
And
we might not have time for that
we
today.
might not have time, but it's the reason why I spray, because my cat likes to sit on the laptop when I'm not watching. And
Okay.
yeah, so you can explain it to the customer. There's a number of ways, but some customers are becoming aware on their own,
Yep.
and it's amazing the amount of cleaning companies that say to us, "Oh, I spoke to the client and the client was delighted," or "The client asked me," and they're almost afraid to pitch it to the client. And I speak to end users who say, "Yeah, I like that, but I just go with what my commercial cleaning contractor recommends. So I'm afraid to." Look, lads, talk to each other
Yeah.
and get on with it. Yeah.
And that's the way. Perfect. Well, Joe, thank you very much. We will see you around the show today.
Yeah.
I believe you're working with the DCBN.
Yeah. Looking forward to getting to know you guys a lot more. We've got some good stuff we can do.
And if people want to buy this, I know that you are giving us some great offers, aren't you?
Yeah,
And buy it directly from the website as well?
Yeah, buy directly from the website, ingenious-probiotics.com.
Perfect. Hopefully we can add that on. Amazing, Joe. Thank you very, very